and to all of us thriving in it are really complicated, are really messy, are really blurry. And I think it's really important to just like really, yeah, talk about the good stuff and talk about the hard stuff, and really get into it. So you have my promise and my commitment that I'm going to spit it as real as possible. But I'm super excited to just answer your questions and hear who you are and like what you're stoked about too. Do not at all feel like you have to have your questions pertain to like me and my life. Like I honestly would way rather answer a question that pertains to you and your life too. So I'd love if you want to share like a little bit about like who you are, what you do, what your pronouns are, what your name is. And then if you want to talk about a subject, it doesn't even have to be a question. You can just be like, let's just dialogue about this subject. So does that sound good? Yeah. I'm seeing like 3 people nod their heads. So thank you so much for the visual participation. But I'm so excited. Oh, also, whoa, there's a whole second page. Hello, second page of you. Um, but yeah, as Pat said, my name is Win. I'm coming at you very sunburned because I forgot my sunscreen yesterday. And I went out hiking and I literally on like minute 5 was like, here we go, another day of sunburns. So you get this very strawberry shortcake drag look today. It's a pixie wig too. Um, but I'm super stoked to be talking with you. Let's see, where does my story begin? I feel like I'm still so new at this that I like don't have a script. So bear with me. I am originally born and raised in Nebraska, which if I wasn't from Nebraska, I'd be like, where is Nebraska? But it's like smack dab middle of the United States. Was really thankful to be born into a really liberal blue bubble, but was born in the middle of a lot of dissonance, very much in red America and very much in rural America. My first like outdoor experiences were literally my grandma and grandpa's farm in like a town of 1,000 people, or my backyard when I was 6 years old, performing Cats the musical and Beauty and Beast the musical, jumping off of my swing set, performing for anyone who would watch, which oftentimes was literally no one but my imaginary friends. And so I very much feel like I'm still doing the same queer shit just now as an adult, and I figured out how to like make a living in it and try to advocate for other queer fairies to be and embrace their backyards as adults too. So there's the circle of life moment for you. But that's me. Let's see. After being 6 years old, like in middle school and high school, I like my most formative like outdoor experience was in the Boy Scouts, which I do not like to paint anything with broad strokes because again, I think that things are complicated and layered. But it was a really, really difficult place for a closeted queer human to exist. I definitely was like indoctrinated with this machismo, toxic masculine energy through Boy Scouts. Never really felt safe, but yet was really like thankful to learn like outdoor skills and to have my first experiences with backpacking. I really don't know if I would like be as quote unquote outdoorsy, even though I want to vomit every time I say that word. I wouldn't be as into the outdoors if I wouldn't have had that experience, but yet also I think it was one of the most toxic. So, really complicated. But yeah, spent 18 years of my life in the closet, came out of the closet as I was about to go to college. Um, Came out of the closet and was really accepted, but was really accepted conditionally. I think this is not necessarily a unique experience for a queer person. I think a lot of us think we're greeted with a lot of love, but it turns out in retrospect, looking back at that time, that a lot of that love was really conditional and was also really just passively harmful. I was told that I would be accepted as a gay male if I never painted my fingernails. Sup, bitches? If I never did drag, hello, my life now. If I like straight passed, and I internalized the shit out of that, and I built a lot of yeah negativity around that and my own internalized homophobia. In fact, actually, before I came out of the closet, my voice was so much higher than it is now. But over that first few years that I came out, I trained my voice to be lower because I told myself that if I could be everything for everyone else but myself, that I would be successful. Um, And the plot twist was like, it worked. I was able to have a really successful and thriving photography business through college that was in my career after college. I made friends with a lot of people who were like, who a lot of other queer people weren't in community with. But I always had to sacrifice. I always had to edit. I always had to change myself. So much so that I just like really didn't even know who I was. So yeah, that was like, I feel like I consider it almost like the chapter one of my queer life. And kind of, even though I came out, I think I even just went further back into the closet in a lot of ways. Um, and it wasn't till I did drag for the first time, which the lesser known story is that like that was not through Pattie Gonia, but through another drag persona called Ginger Snap, because I was a photographer and was a ginger. Really original name. What's up? What's up? But I did drag at this photography conference, at this like giant dance party where the invitation was just to come as whatever you wanted to be. So I said, fuck it. I'm finally just going to do the thing that everyone told me I shouldn't do, and went and drag, and to look in the mirror and to see so much of my femininity that I had left out of my life and squashed my whole entire life, to truly see myself as a queer person and not just a straight passing gay male. And to really explore that was so powerful. It's such a trip. I almost feel like when I'm wearing clothes like this now that I'm in straight passing drag. But it's still so much of my outfits like in clothing that I've had like my whole entire life. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Get a whole new wardrobe, or like wear what I have and truly rep what Pattie stands for, which is just like rewear it till it freaking falls apart. But I digress. It's very much this like very interesting world to float between kind of extreme femininity for me and extreme like percepted masculinity to me, and to just explore the gender bend of it all through my drag. But getting back to the first time I did drag as Ginger Snap, I went that night to this party as Ginger Snap. It was so powerful to see myself in the mirror. It was so powerful to walk around and not have people even recognize that it was me. And that night, I sported this like thigh-high pair of black boots that I'd purchased the week before in LA, which is one of my first times ever visiting LA and being like, oh, there's queer people everywhere. This is crazy. It's not like the cornfields of Nebraska. But so wore these high heel boots and went out that night. It was so fun. It was so beautiful. But because it was a photography conference, of course, like photos went online. Um, and like woke up the next day to like 10,000 people unfollowing me on like my photography business account. And I was like, ooh, burn, but also like, fuck them. You were never really in my corner. And that was really easy to say. But then there were things that were a lot harder. It was like I had clients that like canceled their shoots with me and just were like, oh, I'm sorry, it's like not gonna work out. And I was like, why? And they were like, oh, just like date changes and whatever. And I was like, okay, we can reschedule. And they're like, no, bye. And I was like, okay. But then it was also just like this slowly backing away of people that I truly thought were in my corner, like best friends, friends of my parents, people that were life mentors in my life for forever. That yeah, just like slowly stopped talking to me. Came home from that photography conference and trip, and my house was egged, which was just this beautiful cherry on top. And I was just like, this is painful as fuck. Like, it was a lot to process because in a way, I felt like I was being more myself than ever, but yet I finally took that gamble and rolled that dice on myself and shared like not the penultimate truth of me, but a giant side of me with the world, and feel like I was really rejected. And raise your hand if you know what the Enneagram 3 is, or like Enneagram at all. Yeah, some of you. I'm an Enneagram 3, which is like penultimately, I'm just like, just tell me what I can do so that you like me and so we can like achieve and succeed together. Bunch of bullshit. We're still processing through it. But yeah, it was just like, it was too painful. I was like, screw this. I'm not going to do this anymore. I can literally like go back into like my comfortable out closet. And I literally remember like throwing those pair of boots like into my closet and being like, bye, see you later, keep you around, but like never going to wear you again. And it wasn't until like 5 months later when I was going on a backpacking trip with some of my very, very best friends. And my backpack was on the floor right next to these high heels. And I was just like, what if I take them? And I took them and I packed them in that bag. And when we reached like the summit of the Continental Divide in Colorado, took them out and I was like, surprise, bitches. And like we took a few photos that led to a few videos. I came home and edited that video like next to my mom on the couch. And she was like, no, you should put this clip here and this clip here. And I was like, okay, mom, great, whatever. And posted it to this literal Sinsta account called Pattie Gonia. And I was like, haha, like 30 of my best friends will follow this and like whatever. And then like life happened and like very much not that happened and like went viral and it was this like crazy thing, but yet also it was like this really like personal thing that was going on in my life too. And like I literally had like Vogue knocking on my door, Outside Magazine knocking on my door, REI knocking on my door, being like, tell us everything about you and like we want to like give you the world, which like such a fucking privilege, right? And yet I was also over here like, I've done drag once. I wore high heels out in the outdoors once. But I was like, what am I gonna do? Like literally, what am I gonna do? Am I going to say, okay, this is literally the start of like a new life for me of not chasing Pattie, but just being unapologetically myself and truly like giving myself maybe queer community for the first time in my life? Or am I going to literally go back into the closet and do what I've always done? And I decided to take that gamble on myself. And I want to be very clear, like taking a gamble on yourself is not fucking easy because like I have lost a lot in my life in doing so, but also now the people in my life that have come into my life, including like the community and the queer community and the outdoor community, I would not change for the world. So like I do not want to sit here and be like, so just be yourself and life's going to be great. I want to be like, be yourself and life's going to be fucking hard, but you're going to learn a whole lot more about who you are and what you believe in and what you stand for. And I think that's invaluable. I think that's what the year 2020 put in front of all of our faces is who the fuck are you? What do you stand for? What do you want to fight for? And I'm so thankful I have that fire under my ass and that I'm no longer like here to make people comfortable. And that I really have like an appreciation and respect as much for other people as I have for myself. Um, it's really easy in me life, y'all, to like uh throw a middle finger up at like everyone in my past life that like conditionally accept me, but it's just like, you know what, those are not the people that are meant to be in my life. And like, you know what, that's fine, I have to let that go. You're like, wow, did not know we were going to Patagonia's emotional therapy session, but here we are. You are all my therapist, I'm sharing with you. But so yeah, hence was birth Pattie, and ever since it's been a journey of just like trying to literally figure it out, realizing the privilege and opportunity I have to truly be a voice for queer people in the outdoors, to know how much fucking privilege I hold in being a straight passing white male um, in the space as well, and to be and just what a privilege it is to be able to like wipe off my makeup at the end of the day when a lot of my trans friends in the outdoors or trans people of color or people of color in general like do not have that privilege at all. So I think that like my role, my job, what I'm figuring out is to be dancing on the bridge between more marginalized communities and myself, my marginalized community, and like very privileged people in very powerful positions. And what I'm learning is that I'm very much positioned to, because of my skill set in my life as a photographer and art director before, to like fuck with shit from the inside out and to work with outdoor brands and to work with nonprofits and to really make some creative things happen. And yet still remind myself at the end of the day that like, if I'm not doing Pattie for myself and to explore like queerness myself, like it has no purpose at all. That's way harder to do, to like really remember why I started it in the beginning, because there's so much energy around me that is swirling that I want to make happen. But yeah, that's me. I'm also literally just like this kid that's hanging out, like doing very weird things in the outdoors. Like tomorrow, it literally snowed here in Bend, and I'm going to do this like second bird inspired drag look by being a snow owl. So, like, you know what? Like, you are talking to a crazy person, but this is my truth and I'm living it. So, that's me. and that's my life. But it's a mess. It is a constant journey of, I think a lot of people look to a lot of people in the outdoors that either have a following or like a position of power and think that these people have it all figured out. And like, I want to be the first person to tell you, like, I do not have the answers. I can be lost with you. I can offer you what I've learned from people way smarter than me. Um, but I really feel like the journey of allyship is to just take action and to have that action be imperfect rather than having that action be perfect, because then I'm never going to take it. You know, if I wait until I feel prepared, I'm never going to do that. And then yet also to like recognize that like my actions and what I'm trying to do in the outdoors, and like my intent might not always match like my impact. Um, which has also been a definitely like a thing to process and figure out too. But I think ultimately, if all of us here can intersect all the pieces of that we are and truly bring our authentic selves into the outdoors and get other people that are like us and or have way less privilege, the outdoors are going to be an incredibly different place than these monolithic toxic masculine stories that the outdoor industry feeds us year after year to just sell more shit, to keep white men in power, to make white men more rich. So I fucking digress. But I really think that it's going to take all of us, because we all have so much that makes us individually our beautiful selves. And I feel like we all totally can recognize the dissonance and like looking around and seeing the outdoor community and yet seeing what's like sold to us or told to us as like the outdoorsy person. And it's really different. And we know that. And I think there's no better time to start building that community ourselves, because I don't know about you, but I'm no longer looking to the outdoor industry or to anyone else to like fix my own problems. I'm like, we just got to build it, you know? So really easy to say, but really hard to do. So that's my bullshit. That's my spiel. I'm like so grateful to like share this space with y'all. Like for real, I think it's crazy that you want to hang out with me on like a Friday night after a week of probably a lot of work and a lot of school and just a lot of just kind of like this monotony of like what life is nowadays. And so I'm just so excited to like talk real with y'all, whatever, and to just get into the gritty of what you want to talk about, and really grateful for your time to listen to me speak. So that's me. Patrick, was that long enough? Do you want me to talk more? I don't know.
That was perfect. Whatever, I mean, it was whatever you wanted to share. So thank you so
Yeah,
much,
cool.
Whit, for sharing.
Great.
Um,
Thank
yeah.
you. Stoked to hear what y'all want to talk about. So totally feel free to throw things Kat's way. She can start the queue, but like let's get into it. Let's talk about some stuff. Y'all game? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you for the 5 head nods and 1 thumbs up. This is encouraging. But yeah, I'd love to hear your name. I'd love to hear a little bit about you, your pronouns, and then like throw out a topic or throw out a question and we can go from there. Sound good? Okay, cool.
Awesome. I think our first one was from Shay. So Shay, if you want to unmute, yeah. And then anybody else, if you've got questions, DM them to Kat.
I'm not nervous and sweating. You're nervous and sweating. Hi, I'm Shay Van Alstine. I'm the challenge course coordinator for the University of South Florida. I mean, a little bit about me. I've been in the outdoors world since I was 18, but was also like a Girl Scout. So I guess since I was younger, and love everything you stand for. My question is, what are some ways to get involved in the movements such as like environmentalism, like LGBTQ rights, Black Lives Matter, that Pattie/Win you support? Like, what are some ways that we can be doing better and helping out?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a great question, actually. Okay, a few things to say on that. Like one, what I do and what I support and like what I associate myself with is and like should be completely different than I feel like what we each as individuals should be. A lot of the causes that I directly am like fighting for in the outdoors or like direct organizations that I am in supporting in them is because like I know the people personally, or I've been like really lucky to get to know in real life the organization. And so like I can vouch for it. I know if I'm like fundraising for a thing, I know their programming and I know their directors and I know literally where those dollars are going. And I feel that responsibility because I oftentimes am asking from my community. But I feel like for each of y'all, I think, I don't know, I'm glad you brought this up because I think that like something that's blowing my mind right now is to like actually think about how many different things I have in my life that are tools that I can act as an ally with that I just like didn't know I had. I think it's so easy for me to just like knee jerk react and be like, okay, the biggest way and like best way I can support is to give money. Yes, that's so true. And also, that's like selling myself short for the capital that I have to give. Because also, if I'm taking an inventory of my capital, I have a social media following, I have a talent as a photographer, I have an interest in like literature, I have a knowledge of social media strategy. I do have money to give too. And those are all different like tools that I can put in my hand to like fuck shit up in this world and oftentimes like ally other organizations or other things. And I think a big misconception too is that like people look to like people that brand themselves as like advocates or allies or whatever is like what they have to do, and it's like dedicate your whole life to the like, oh my gosh, I could never. And it's like that's fucking bullshit, because like behind the scenes in my life, my biggest impact I truly feel as an ally will be literally having conversations and making impact that is never seen by social media, that is oftentimes hyper unique conversations with people that really do not think like I do. And entering into those conversations, not trying to be right or not trying to be in control, but just to have that conversation and to create a relationship with a person of difference. Because oftentimes I am like one of the only queer people that people know from like my home state. So I think for y'all, it's literally asking yourself the question, what's the work that's available to me and only to me? What am I passionate about? And like, what tools do I have in my tool belt to go out and do things in this world, you know? I think if we can start asking ourselves those questions more, and really seeing like, okay, like what can I do that like no one else can do? And what feels like I'm intersecting the most parts of me, like that ooey gooey good zone is like the shit you should fuck with, you know? And it's gonna feel the most honest to you, you know? Um, my path to advocating for BIPOC people in the outdoors would be completely different if I didn't know this human named Teresa Baker, who's the founder of the Outdoor CEO Pledge and the In Solidarity Project, who is like one of my best friends. And like, so much of my access points are through that friendship, so that I can like really be like, hey, I really want to spit it to you real. Like I'm feeling like I don't really necessarily know what to do in this. Like, can we talk about this? You know, and she can do the same of me, but with the queer community. You know, so yeah, that was like a fuck ton of word vomit, but like, does that make sense? Cool. Great question, Shay.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what I heard from you was educating others, whether it's from personal experience
Yeah,
or things that you learned, which is awesome. Thanks, Win.
totally. Of course. Yeah, y'all are in the perfect state to do so. That's all I'm gonna say. So, hell yeah. Awesome.
So it looks like we might still be waiting on some questions. So if any of y'all have topics or thoughts or questions, actually looks like we just got one in. So I think,
Cool.
Patrick, I'm gonna go ahead and send it over if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Claudia, you wanna go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away?
Yeah, I'm Claudia. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm currently working as the outdoor adventure intern for UCF. Thank you, Kat. And then after that, I work as a kayak instructor in the North Carolina, Tennessee region.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. So my question is kind of all over the place, but essentially, either as the way you're presenting yourself now or in drag, do you experience toxic masculinity either like in the outdoor industry or like in your daily life, I guess? And then how do you navigate that conversation? And then the reason I ask that is because as a female kayaker, I get often belittled, not taken seriously as a professional. And sometimes I feel like I almost have to be like, hey, this is my criteria, please listen to what I'm saying. And oftentimes like, and it's not even necessarily the men that I work with, but it's like random people on the river that think that they can handle a situation better. And then on top of that, like I'm a little chubby. So I feel like that kind of like play like being plus size and a woman and in an industry that's like extremely dominated by like hyper masculine men. how do you navigate through that conversation? I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, first of all, before I answer the question, this is a total shot in the dark, but have you ever been on the Ocoee River? Do you know what this is if I say that to you?
Yes, I do.
Really? Do you really?
Yeah. So,
yeah. No, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, so I worked at an all-girls sleepaway camp, and then I work at the Nantahala Outdoor Center.
You work at Nantahala.
Yes. Yeah. So that was like the home base, and then I would take guests of like all ages and genders on like the Nantahala, the Pigeon, Chattooga, like that whole is like my bread and butter.
Do you happen to know someone named MK Wicker?
It sounds familiar, but not personally.
Okay, who knows? The world is small, so you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been told that I have to visit the Ocoee in that whole area, and I have to raft it. So now maybe I have to kayak it too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's so awesome. Well, first of all, like, I'm so fucking glad you were there taking up space, and also like, take no fucking bullshit, like for real. Like, we have to address this face on. I think that when toxicity is faced, or when like just like hate, or even like kind of covert hate is faced in the outdoors, of like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I way easier to say than do, but like, love to address that head on. And I always love to start with the question, like, I'm really curious about why you treated me this way, and throw it right back in their court. Some really passive curiosity that lets them just like kind of like enter into that space. But I think that like, we can't just like write it up in a report and send it to like people anymore, just keep on talking about it and things like this. Like, we have to face it head on to the people that are causing it. And I realized that like, that's way easier for me to say as a white male who comes in at 6'3", like 200 pounds, than it is for you to address that face on too. So like, of course that is like putting yourself in risk too, but I really feel like if you're able to come at that space with allies too and address that head on, we must do that if it's within our capacities, and if we feel safe to do so. And I think that like, also really explaining, hey, I know you meant for it to be this way. It's that whole intent impact thing, but what happened was this, and I needed to be really aware of it. And like, I want to talk about this with you now, because there will be a time in the future when someone won't be that gracious to you, and you're just going to get fired, So yeah, I think we have to face it head on. But two, I think that like, yeah, you seem to be perfectly positioned too, to like also like help educate like the people around you too, which is awesome to have like such an awareness, and also like an ability to kind of like rally people in a way, to also feel that as well. Cause I think there's a lot of people that feel like they can never speak up or never will speak up, So I'm stoked to see you like be a leader in that, I think we need a lot more people like you taking up a lot more space in a lot of those positions that are filled by people with a lot of privilege, So yeah, I hope that like can kind of help. But like, I also feel like I'm blown away at the resource that is like Instagram nowadays. Don't get me wrong, the internet is shittier than ever, but it's also more beautiful than ever. There are some incredible like plus size outdoorists. Like Jenny Brusso is one of my friends that I learn from all the time, and she is incredible about like really how to address fat phobia in the outdoors, and how to like face that head on, and also like what to do if you are a person that is like plus size in the outdoors as well. Basically, don't listen to me, listen to way more educated people. But like, Jenny Brusso is totally a name I'd throw your way. And if you message her and we're like, hey, your friend Pattie said that I should reach out to you and blah, 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 then she owes me one. So she can talk to you, and that'd be great. So
okay.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Great question. But yeah, stay there and fuck shit up. We need you there.
Yeah.
If you can, if you feel safe. And also like, shove their kayak down a waterfall. Dude,
okay.
I've heard that river crews are like shady as fuck. Like for real. Like they'll like, like certain like, like whatever, like multi-year rafters will like totally screw over like other boats.
Yeah.
It's like savage. I was like, I did not know that this was like so much drama. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of drama. It's fun.
Wild place. But yeah, thanks for asking that.
Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm actually going to pop in with one of my own because I can do that because I'm the one that's hosting this. So,
Well,
no rules. So I had one written down in a recent Instagram post. You said how a few years ago you didn't feel as if you had a community of LGBTQ plus people within the outdoor space. But how do you think that has changed in the past couple of years? And then why is having a community so important?
mm. Yeah, I think before I brought my queerness into the outdoors, I never realized how many queer people were in the outdoors. Like, I am permanently fascinated that I will be in like a bumfuck nowhere and there will be like a queer person there. And like, I just think it's so beautiful. And I think that um, traditionally the queer trajectory is to run to like a metropolitan experience for acceptance. And it often takes a lot more inner courage and inner energy to survive in more rural or spaces where we are one of the only people in these outdoor spaces. And so I think I'm just like permanently blown away at like how many queer people there are taking up space and doing things, and everything from being a park ranger to being a rafting guide to working in the outdoor industry. And I just think that it's also, a safer space than it ever has been to come out and to be out. But a lot of these systems in the outdoors, like the National Park Service, like has a long way to go to truly being LGBTQ inclusive. As does everywhere, including like in my own productions, like for real, like I'm like, yeah, we can always point the finger, but also like, when are we ever like pointing that finger at ourselves and being like, well, what can we do? So I'm constantly trying to be like, what can I do in my life to like open more positions for more queer people and provide jobs and opportunities for more queer people. So, but yeah, and I think queer community, because like I never had it in my life. Growing up queer in Nebraska, like we were all closeted as we did show choir up through high school, and then we all came out, and then a lot of people left, and I was kind of like one of the only people still around. And I'm just really realizing that like I need those forces in my life, because I have like a lot of learning and growing to still do in my queerness, and I think it will always be like an ongoing discovery and journey. So yeah, great question, Pat.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
going to kick it over to Oliver, Oliver Sendall, who had a question.
Hell yeah.
So, Oliver Sundell, he, him, his pronouns. I'm the assistant director for outdoor pursuits at FGCU. First thing, did I hear you say Bend? Is that where you're living now?
Yeah, Bend, Oregon.
I lived there for a few years, miss it all the
Hell
time.
yeah. Yeah, it's
But
really special. It's a really, really special place. And there's way more queer people here than I ever knew. So
there's, yeah,
it's awesome.
definitely. I lived in Montana for a while, lived in Bend for a while. There's definitely a totally different vibe from the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to touch on that I want to remind, and I think we all have an opportunity to do here, is that sometimes it's really easy to look at the inequity or lack of opportunity in the outdoor world and want to take on this monumental challenge of making it a better place, a more inclusive place. And it can seem like a daunting, big challenge. However, we got to realize that, there's the old saying about eating an elephant one bite at a time, or, taking things one step at a time. Is the power that we have and a lot of the opportunity that we have is if you can expose that of one person of color, any sort of marginalized or population that has a less opportunity in the outdoor world, and change that one person's experience,
Mm.
and then just take it one step at a time. If you can do that a few times while you're in your role here, and they can then pass it on, that's what's going to make the biggest difference, I think, or the power that we have lies in those individual experiences rather than taking on this monolith of the whole outdoor industry and the whole outdoor experience as a whole. I think we have that special chance to find those individuals, take them and give them that experience. I took a spring break trip. Shay, when she was with me last year, we took a outdoor trip up to Asheville, North Carolina, with mostly people who had never slept in a tent before,
Mm.
and gave them this experience. And if that's just the one step they have towards the outdoor, that's a great first step. So I think it's very, very easy to look at it as a daunting challenge, but little steps at a time, and we have that chance.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, I'm gonna be really honest with y'all. Why Patty is what Patty is because, okay, we're gonna get like so real. Patty is what Patty is because like I know how to read people's poker hands because I have dealt with these outdoor brands as a photographer for like 10 years before. So I'm like playing their own game. And I think that like so in that way, I'm like chewing or one bite elephant at the time, whatever, like from the inside out. But like I just want to tell y'all like I do not recommend like my approach, and my approach is because it's like uniquely just perfect for me. For other people, I think it is so exactly what Oliver said about really thinking about how can we act hyper locally. Are you so passionate about like the Everglades and you really think there's an opportunity to do some conservation work as a group of queer people or as a group of Asian people, or as a group of just like birders of diversity in that area? Like go fuck shit up locally. Like that is the change we need. I think no one will know those environments as well as y'all will and as well as y'all do, you know? So I really think when we're thinking about intersectionality too, it's not just the tools we have, but it's the identities we hold too. It's me looking at my life and being like, well, I'm a queer person, I'm a creative, I'm also a Nebraskan, and I weirdly like understand the Midwest in people or in ways people like wouldn't normally have. I understand the outdoor industry and how to work with brands. And so like my path is what it is. But for you, maybe that is you're really passionate about zero waste and you want to include your like Latinx heritage in your kitchen and in your like zero waste cooking, which turns out that Latinx cooking is incredibly zero waste and incredibly uses all of everything all the time. And you want to share that with the world. Maybe that means for you that you are really, really, really passionate um, about the Pacific Crest Trail and you just want to get more queer people on the Pacific Crest Trail. Cool, go for that, do that. There's gonna be no one better than you. If I try to do that, people would be like, bitch, you've never freaking hiked the PCT. What are you talking about? You know? So I think go in it also with every piece that makes you who you are culturally, identity-wise, skill-wise, interest-wise, and intersect those. And you're gonna know perfectly how you can kind of chomp at that one bite away. So thank you, Oliver, for bringing that up.
Awesome. Thank you, Wynn. Our next question, I'm going to kick it over to Kaylee Buckner.
Hi, my name is Kaylee, and I use she, they pronouns. I attend the University of Florida, and I work as an outdoor guide, and I'm the TA of spider biology there.
That's amazing.
And I want to dedicate my life to LGBTQ plus and environmental equitable education intersectionality. I want to integrate sciences with queerness, and I wanted to work on creating an LGBTQ plus animal behaviors course for college students, but I was shot down by my advisor because she said it wouldn't be something that would be useful or taken seriously by employers. How do you build from nothing or even less than nothing when you have pushback by the people who are supposed to support you?
Whoa, I love this. Let's talk about this. Well, first of all, I hate that for you and fuck her for ever trying to tell you who you are and what would be applicable to an application. What? Second of all, let's hold space for abundance though, after I just said F her. And let's say, you know what? She probably is a straight person who holds a lot of privilege, who's very set in her ways. And oftentimes, when I have faced that energy in my life, I think the most important thing for me to reflect on is that not that me as the flower is the problem or that I can't bloom. It's that I'm currently planted in really toxic soil, in soil that's not going to support my growth. And I say that like because yes, it is this beautiful metaphor, but it also is so real. I tried to build queer community for years in Nebraska. And I think learned a lot along the way about what I did wrong and trying to like center my own experience or center different things or even like center like my whiteness in it. Lots of things that like I'm so thankful I've had those experiences, but also like the soil there just didn't want to like latch on for the ride and didn't want to be a fertile place for other flowers like me to bloom because they didn't think it was important. I got told all the time that it didn't matter to create like an LGBTQ like creative like club at my college. X, Y, or Z. So like, I feel with you, and like, I think you can never forget that it's not you, it's often the soil you're planted in. And I know, again, that's way easier said than done, because you're probably in your program and there's no way to just be like, yeah, okay, so bye, I'm going to transfer schools. But what I'm also always fascinated with too is that I never want to let what like one person tells me like affect like how I feel about like all of it, you know? So maybe there's opportunity to like get a new advisor, or literally like talk to her higher up and talk about like how toxic and sad and like really traumatizing of an experience it was for you to like experience that, and how it's impacted you, if you're able to share that. So I feel like, yeah, when we're faced with adversity, which is 99 times out of 100, I think also it's just maybe there's a different person who can see with a different perspective, who can like encourage you in a different way. You know, maybe there is a different advisor that could completely be just encouraging and believe in you and believe in your identity. And I think it's really shitty that someone didn't try to believe in all of you and really try to squash that. So that makes me really sad. So yeah, I think maybe new advisor, maybe new college. Also, like maybe like use that as fuel to your fire to like continue to do things and say, you know what, I don't care if you don't think that it's constructive, like I'm gonna do it anyway, you know? I don't know. I don't know. Also never been in a university system like at that level. Are you in grad school or are you in undergrad right now?
I'm about to graduate as an undergrad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally understand too. It's kind of like, well, we're almost like that finish line, you know, like what now, you know? So I think maybe just being really cautious to the next place you plant yourself, have that be a space that's really going to encourage you and embrace and really name your needs. You know, when you're going out to be hired by places, say like, you know what, I am a queer scientist. I'm really looking to like build queer community in the science program, and like I'm going to add value to this company or to this like pursuit or this area because of that, and I really need to be encouraged and supported to do that. Does that make sense? So I'm stoked for you. I'm so glad you're queer and in science and you love spiders. This is amazing. This is so great. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaylee. Next one is from Jason Gosh, who he says that his mic and camera aren't working, which to me just sounds like an excuse. However, I'm going to read it off for him. It says, "Hi, I'm Jason, assistant director at University of Southern Florida. I use he, him, his pronouns. 2 questions. What is the highest high you've ever experienced as Pattie?
Mm.
And do you have a favorite pair of outdoor heels? Asking for a friend," is what it says.
Wow. These are great questions. I'll start with the heels question first. I think that every single human on planet Earth should own a pair of heels because they're incredibly empowering, and it's amazing to to really reclaim an object that was made to like sexualize people and throw it back in people's faces as a queer moment of power. So I highly recommend that everyone gets a pair of heels. But my number one recommendation is that you get a heel with a square base rather than a stiletto base, because you will walk so much easier. We'll definitely learn that the hard way. But yeah, and let's see, highest high. Did he ask highest high and lowest low, or just highest high?
He put just highest high, but
we'll keep it positive.
yeah.
Yeah. I think like an experience I really come back to often. Yeah, 2 experiences. One, I think there's nothing like getting to like be the person. There's nothing like getting to be the person you needed when you were younger. And because of that, like I am so lucky to get to volunteer at this summer camp called Brave Trails. And it's a queer summer camp in California for non-binary and queer youth to really just come and embrace the freedom of whoever they truly are. And so oftentimes you have campers at this camp that are using different pronouns for the first time, or are really walking through the world as their true gender identity. And it is an incredibly powerful experience and so beautiful. And it's kind of like so beautiful on like this weird heartbreaking level, if I'm being honest with you, because I like always ask myself, damn, if I felt this freedom and had this environment when I was their age, like where would I be? Like seriously, like where would I be? And I truly feel like if I wouldn't have built this shell that is so masculine covering walking through my daily life because of all of my internalized homophobia for like a majority of my life through my youth, I think I would be way more non-binary-esque, but I really do feel like so new to that non-binary-esqueness. So it's such a beautiful and like fun place to be. There's no place I'd rather be in the summers. And I think there's this magic about summer camp. And it's really not claimed as like an outdoor experience, yet I totally think it is. So Brave Trails for sure. And I just highly recommend for like anyone, if you come at this with this specific like interest level or marginalized identity, like working with youth that also are experiencing the same things is like so valuable. I know that so many of us here want to go into outdoor education as a career, and I commend you for doing so. We need more female identifying people and more diverse and marginalized people in those spaces. I think that's how we're going to really see that community really come in, because honestly, like for me as a white person, it's not my role to like be a leader of other people of color in the outdoor space, or like even women. I think that women should be doing the leading. I think that POC should be doing the leading. So I'm really stoked y'all are here, and like you're invaluable.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason, for sending that our way. Next one, I'm going to kick it over to Miguel.
Yeah, so I'm Miguel, go by he, him pronouns, and I am the lead of our Adventure Trips program here at UCF. So my question is that the outdoors looks really white. So what is something that you've learned in helping to build more diversity and also attract people into building a more intersectional space?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the first step is like realizing my whiteness and my privilege, right? Like, which has been like the foundation of everything, but then also it's been like stepping out of the way, knowing that like it's not my job to be the Beyonce ally. Like an ally is like a Kelly on the side being like, you got this, you know? So I think that, yeah, like it seems so cliche to like be saying these things, but I really feel and really believe in like giving the spotlight and passing the mic to other like BIPOC and or more marginalized people, supporting them with the tools that you have to do so, and really asking and listening more than talking, being like, how can I support? Tell me where and when, and tell me how, and like I'm there, and really like leading up to them to be in those leadership positions. I think the outdoor industry in general, and a lot of outdoor nonprofits that are more like traditional outdoor nonprofits, they're loving posting these black squares and these like diversity statements, and they're like, and we're hiring diverse people and whatever. And I'm like, and your board is still 100% white and 100% straight. So talk to me when you start giving up that power in that position. And honestly, like because of that whole like pointing finger thing, like I'm asking myself that too. I'm like, I know that every time Pattie pops off, it takes up a lot of space. And I think my role now is really to make space for other queer people in the outdoors, and also to live a lot of life as Win, where Pattie is in the center of attention, but I can use my talents behind a camera to point a camera lens towards people that are fucking shit up from the inside out too. So yeah, that's what I've learned, or at least that's what I'm like working through right now. But I think for any white person, it's just like, yeah, take a hard and honest look in the mirror, and then like almost kind of like disengage from that space of power in a lot of ways, and make a lot of space for a lot of other people, you know?
Yep.
Thanks, Miguel. Do you consider yourself POC?
I am Hispanic.
Yeah.
I was born in Venezuela, but I still identify myself more as white from my experiences and privileges. So.
Yeah. What an interesting like dichotomy, right? Yeah. Not that there's like any comparing to do, but like there is this like balance of like having diversity and having privilege, right? And like I feel right there with you. I'm like it's a gray area, but Yeah, I think I'd be really, really stoked to see you like and like share if you have anything that you would love to share. Like I'd love to give the floor to you. Like, what would you like to see from white people? Like, please share with us as a person of color.
I really don't know like what I would want to see. I'm like struggling with our program where we're trying to, yeah, like we are doing like diversity trainings, and I think most of us like have that mindset in place and want to get that going, but then we're trying to, I guess we're trying to like cast a rod out everywhere, but it won't like bite.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really interesting because I think that like in my experience as like a queer person, which this again is not to compare, but it's just the only experience I have to share, like oftentimes it is a lot of like straight people at my outdoor program at my university that were like, come to the climbing gym, it's so like fun here. And I was like, why would I want to hang out with like and be the only queer person yet again, you know? So I think it's really important for like BIPOC people to see your face and to see that like you want to invite them, because I think that that hits so much different than if a white person's like coming out with us, you know. So I think it's really, really important that you're there, and I think that like, yeah, maybe the people or the person casting the rod or the face of it just feels disconnected from the audience that is really trying to be reached, you know. So I'm really stoked you're there, for real. Oh, this combo is great. Are you feeling this? Are we like energy level good? Yeah, can I see some like little thumbs up? We feeling good, Chi? Okay, cool. Great. Hi, y'all.
Feeling good. Next question, I think it's Chayla. Is that how I pronounce it?
Hi.
Hi, Jayla.
It's Shyla.
Hi, Shyla.
I was this close. I was.
Yeah, that's okay. My pronouns are she, her. I work as a ropes course facilitator and trip guide at Florida Gulf Coast University. My question is, what are some of your personal favorite outdoor activities?
Great question. Can I be like so real with you? I really, really love like sitting in my backyard and painting my nails.
Okay.
I really love like walking around my neighborhood. I don't know. I mean, I love climbing. I think it's so fun, but I'm so bad at it. But be on the lookout this spring for Pattie doing a heel hook in high heels. So it's gonna happen.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that like I'm learning this year. I think quarantine really taught me that like outdoor experiences are literally like opening a window in my house and or like going on a walk. You know, it's not this like national park trip. It's not this like epic 20-day backpack. It's like I'm kind of reclaiming outdoor experiences as just like painting my nails. So
So simple things.
that's a great question. How about you?
I really like hiking and swimming in fresh water.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have so much salt around you. You need that fresh water.
Yeah, gotta go to the springs. And then I have sort of a sub question on that, and then a second question. So do you ski? And if so, have you skied at Mount Bachelor?
Wow, these are great questions. I ski. I've been here in Bend for 3 weeks and I haven't skied Bachelor yet, but I'm gonna ski it on Monday. I'm so excited too.
Okay.
It's gonna be great. I think it'll also be really interesting to like see who's on the ski mountain there, you know, because skiing is one of the widest areas in all of the outdoors. Just like blows my mind. So yeah. But I'm super looking forward to Ski Bachelor. Have you?
No, but my friends have passes, and so they're gonna be looking for you.
Okay, perfect. Great. Amazing. Honestly, what I love about skiing is it's so incognito. I'm like, no one knows who anyone is. It's kind of beautiful. Yeah, I don't know about y'all too, but like I've been loving wearing masks too. I'm like, I feel like chill walking in public. Like it's like anonymous. You know, it feels kind of good. But yeah, lovely question. Do you have a second question?
Yeah, lastly, how do you stay hopeful for the future when progress seems like it's being so slow and things like aren't super great?
That is such a good question. Have you heard of the book Why Fish Don't Exist?
No.
Okay. I cannot highly recommend this book to you enough. It's by Lulu. You literally have it right there. Kaylee, you have, that is fucking crazy. That's some crazy shit. Okay, like how far are you in the book, Kaylee? Like, are you like almost done?
I'm on page 109.
Okay, your shit's about to be rocked. It hasn't even, you have no idea what's gonna happen. But so it's nonfiction. It's a science book, but it's also explores exactly that, like how to stay hopeful. And the author's main, not to give the book away, I don't think this will give the book away at all, but like she says that she's a really, she's like a very like pessimistic person and really just rooted in reality because so much of her life is in science and is in the sciences and kind of knows how fucked we are with global warming. But her conclusion basically is, I remain hopeful because if I know that like all of this like bad shit exists, like good shit literally has to exist too. And like hope by literal statistics exists, you know? So there will always be a chance until there will never be a chance. And still there are chances. So I think that like she grapples a lot with like it's kind of like blind optimism or whatever, but she really comes back to just like stay hopeful because why not? Then you're just like shooting yourself in the foot of ever giving yourself a chance or ever giving the world a chance. So I'm like, if we're gonna go down like in flames, like I'm going to like fucking die trying and in high heel boots, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm stoked to see what you do because like if we don't do this, if we just like throw our hands in the air, well then like it's on us, you know? And I don't want it to be on me. I want it to be on Trump's America. So yeah. So yeah, I think that like I remain hopeful because statistics, because literally like if I don't, then I'm a part of the problem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I can't
Love
believe
that.
I just dabbed in front of you all and an elderly person.
I feel that. Next one is Vince.
Okay. Hey, I'm Vince. I go by he, his pronouns. I work at UCF as a trip leader with Outdoor Adventure. And my question for you, Patty, was about, you mentioned you really like literature, and I know we just talked about a book a moment ago, but I wanted to ask if there were any other like huge books for you in the last, maybe so like 5 years, where you've had kind of a big, or even in your life, if there was one earlier on, where you've had a big realization and kind of coming to who you are now and like accepting yourself.
Yeah, great question. I think yeah, one of the books that I think is written by one of the great like queer authors, David Sedaris, Me Talk Pretty Someday, is just like, it's one of the first books I read by a queer author, and it totally changed my frame of mind to just kind of be in like lightness and in like comedy in life, because like I think so much as queer people we kind of encounter like the darkness a lot. So really look up to him. But a book that I think really formed my 2019 was Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer. Cannot recommend it enough. Native author, native stories, science, self-discovery, connection with the world, my everything. So good. Have you heard of it, Vincent?
I have heard of Braiding Sweetgrass before, yeah, but I haven't gotten the chance to read it or anything, so that's
so
awesome.
Good. So good. And the final book I'll recommend that I just finished on audiobook is The Overstory. It's a book about trees, and it won the Pulitzer Prize. And there's nothing like it. It's so special. So yeah, lessons from trees. Trees can teach us so much. Great question.
So we have one more. I know we're already 5 minutes over 7. Are you all right with,
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm good for another little, like, whatever, like 5, 10, 15 minutes. If y'all are, if you're like, bye, done listening to you, you can literally leave and I will not be offended. But
Okay.
this is great. So yeah, we can totally keep on going.
Cool. I think everyone's, everyone's in, everyone's locked in, everyone's vibing. So
Okay.
I'll shoot it over to Bonnie, who had a question.
My name's Bonnie. I go by the pronouns she, her, and I am a USF Trip Leader alumni. My question for you is, if you ever experience fear, how do you overcome fear of strangers in the outdoors when you're representing any sort of differentness? And
Yeah.
particularly if you're like by yourself or in a smaller group situation.
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. I find myself never really going on any trip longer than a day or two by myself, because I think there is this like inner fear in my head that I can't really even like fully recognize. So I love to go out in the outdoors, to be in community and to feel like at least I have some allies with me. Um, but it is interesting because I'm oftentimes like painting my face at like a trailhead and I'm like by myself. And oftentimes I'm in like really rural environments. I'll never forget my friend Nikki Smith, who's an incredible trans ice climber and photographer, share with me about like just how exhausting it is even before she reaches the outdoors, to literally be using like rest stop restrooms or like in gas stations, and get told all the time that she's going to the wrong restroom and that she's not allowed in that. And it's there always feels like this kind of cloud, right? But I think that like, yeah, then I mean, strength in numbers. I think also really like truly being safe and being not too far from like different things, or oftentimes also like going into places where I'm not necessarily around a ton of other people, and truly can have the space to myself, but yet also that's like putting myself at risk. So like, yeah, I think it's a thing that we don't like talk about enough in the outdoors, is like safety and how to like protect yourself, because like you're out there, and I truly feel like, yeah, the outdoors are a great risk, to like actually like physically hurt yourself, but like so are other humans on the trail. And like also like, again, like I very much male identify out of drag and like male pass, and like I can't imagine what it's like for females out there on the trail. Cannot even imagine. So I would again defer to people that are way smarter than me. I know there's incredible like self-defense coordinators and also just incredible like mental health coordinators for people like that are getting out there for longer periods, and oftentimes they're from marginalized communities. So yeah, I think find them on IG and follow them, and you can passively learn so much from them. There's so much education out there. So great question. But yeah, I haven't gotten to the level yet where honestly, like I carry anything more than a pocket knife, but I carry a pocket knife like on me in my day pack. So yeah, there's that. But otherwise I have makeup brushes to stab people with. So, or heels. Be like really good, like clogs. I'm serious. I'd probably like fuck someone up with a heel. Like it'd be nasty. But great question. Thanks for asking.
I love that. I wouldn't want to be in between, you and a heel there. That'd be rough. I think Miguel had one more as well. Miguel had something else he wanted to ask.
Hi, Patty again. I had one more question. Aside from just being a trip leader, I'm also a biologist, and I'm someone that aspires to be an activist for like climate change, public land use, indigenous rights, and also like environmental justice. But I'm very nervous to like address an audience on Instagram, like show my face or record a video or something. I have my Instagram account as I'm a photographer, so I post the pictures of nature, and then I like write on captions and whatnot. But I feel like I would like to engage in a better way. It's always difficult for me to like show my face or like hear my voice again in a video. But yeah, what's your tip on beating that fear?
That's so real, isn't it? So it's so vulnerable to put yourself out there, like online, because like, let's just acknowledge that like we can't always trust our audience, you know? Like we don't know who's watching. And like, I'm like, I don't know who's seeing this, you know? So it definitely feels really vulnerable for me. It's something that I'm also working on too. I think that like it was really easy to throw Pattie out there to the world because it was like a caricature of me, but it's way harder to throw Win out there to the world because it's like me, you know? So I'm working through that too. If anything, I feel like what I have to think about and kind of what I try to remind myself about is that like, kind of that whole thing of like model what you want to see out there. And I really think if we want to see other people out there that are BIPOC or are diverse, that are occupying these spaces, we need to see their faces, you know? We need to not just see their photography work, which I bet is beautiful, but also like the face and the human and kind of the why behind it. And I think oftentimes that's the most important story that we so frequently undersell and under storytell, and the story that really matters, you know? So within your own comfort range, but maybe it's easier to throw up a photo of your face with some writing and then to get into like talking to camera a little bit more, and also like give yourself time. Like it takes time. But I think it can be really valuable for people to see the human and kind of the why behind your work. So yeah, beautiful. Great question.
All right, I've got one more, probably our last one here. Jason typed out another one that I'm going to read for you. How did you find refuge within yourself when you were transitioning friend groups and feeling more alone? And then how do you protect your sparkle from going out?
Yeah, great questions. I think before I get into that, I kind of want like have to address like something that I feel like I really feel about the world, but I do not think that the coming out experience is uniquely for queer people. I think queer people uniquely experience it, but I think that like life is nothing but a continuation of coming outs all the time for everyone if we give ourselves that gift. Um, so I really think this applies to like anyone, but I really think that like at the root of it is a lot of like having healthy boundaries, and is really centered in knowing who you are and knowing that there will always be this moment between two trapeze bars where you have an old version of yourself and an old life and people that were in your life. And then there's this new world. And I think it's really hard in that limbo state to know that this exists, because our fear mechanism so easily engages to say, well, there's not going to be that other bar on that other end, right? But what I found like time after time, that every time I put everything that I am out there, this bar happens in life. And these people are going to be even more tuned to challenge me and to like push me forward, and that I can truly like be with and grow and be a part of their community too. So I think that's how I really like, yeah, what I held on to, or kind of what I wish I would have known more, because I didn't know that this bar existed for like the longest time. So I think limbo is such a thing, but recognize that like there is and will be like these worlds over here, you know? So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pat. You've brought great MC energy to this.
I needed that. You know, I needed that. So that was all of our questions. Win, did you have anything that you wanted to close out with?
Wow, here goes my chance at being prolific and put on the spot. I mean, listen, y'all, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're passionate about the outdoors as a space. And I think it is up to all of us to really define what it is, because I think the narrative of what is outdoorsy or what outdoors culture is right now is really not serving what the outdoor community really is. And I think we need to really, really start like using our energy to get more people like us out there, because like younger versions of ourselves need it, our friends need it, the world needs it. So I can't wait to see what y'all do. And it's like, it is literally such a privilege to spend time with y'all. Thank you so much for listening to me and for bringing like such amazing topics out there. So that's my prolificness, but also like maybe try wearing some heels. You never know how your life's going to be changed. So yeah. Can I be so cheesy and take a screenshot of us? Can we do it? Okay, cool. Everyone get their faces really close to the camera and be as gay as possible. Cute, the best. Everyone wave or something. So good. That's awesome. Y'all are wonderful. Y'all are so wonderful. It's so great. It's so great to meet these people from Florida because I've only really met my grandma and her neighbors. So this is great. Y'all are awesome. So yeah, like keep fucking going even when it's hard, y'all. It's gonna be messy and it's gonna be gritty, but there's gonna be some beauty in there. So hell yeah. Oliver, you know that map behind you? It's just like that map. There's gonna be peaks and there's gonna be valleys. We're just gonna keep on strutting. Here we are. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Win. Thank you so much for coming. We really do appreciate it. It's amazing getting to learn how we can just be ourselves and then also make the outdoors a more inclusive place for everybody. So we really appreciate you coming around, staying for an hour, 15 minutes, and just being yourself and creating that honest and authentic conversation. I think it was
yeah, it was so great because y'all brought up such incredible subjects. So I really commend y'all on like thinking this deeply on this stuff. This is awesome. Now we just got to go out and have some fun. Bring some weirdos with us, right?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Before everyone leaves, I do have to say we have the social like right now on the same Zoom link. We're gonna have a little bit of trivia, and the winner gets a hydro flask. So if you want to stick around for it, you absolutely can. That goes for everybody. You included, Win, if you want to play some trivia, but I understand if you want to, call it a night. So
awesome. I have to cook dinner for me and a friend. So I'm gonna go attempt to make Indian food and probably fail, but y'all have fun winning a hydro flask. That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's so great. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you again for having me, for real.
Yeah.
Like so thankful, for real. Y'all are awesome. Keep it up.
Thank
Keep it up.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your night.
Love y'all. See you later. Bye.
Whew. Wow, that was awesome.
So that was the best conversation I think I've had in years. So thank you
today,
for
what about our conversation?
Not yours, Patrick, but just kidding. Thank you all for asking so many good questions. I really appreciate you hanging in there.
Yeah, and so, like I said, we are going to start with our trivia. So I'm going to kick it over to Morgan, who is going to be hosting it. So everybody, I think it's going to be a Kahoot. So keep your phones out.
All right, it's going to take me a second to pull it up so I can give you guys some time to get your phones ready. All right, it is loading. I'm just waiting for the pin.
I have jokes if we want to. Why did the
Sorry, I'm just seeing the messages.
Why did the seagull fly over the sea?
I don't know.
Because if it flew over the bay, it'd be a bagel. It's a good one, right?
All right, let me share my screen. Oh, I can't share my screen yet.
It straight up is not giving me the option to make you a co-host. I have no idea why.
Okay.
Y'all use this Everglades seasoning because y'all are from Florida?
It's so good. You got to put it on eggs.
I'm
That
putting
is
it on
the best seasoning in the entire world.
I had never heard of it, and I saw this guy dressed in all camo with blood all over him at the grocery store, and that was the only thing he was buying. And I was like, is that stuff good? And he was like, yeah, I got a deer in the truck. I'm going to pour it all over it later. And I was like,
he's on a mission.
I got it, and got it.
Yes.
That's the most Florida thing I've ever heard.
I'm from Georgia, so I think it's pretty both. But yeah, I was reading it and I was like, oh, this is from Florida, and you are all in Florida.
Cool. So Since I can't let you share the screen, I think you emailed it to me, so I'm going to bring it up myself real quick.
Yeah. I sent you the updated one, right?
If it's the same one, it's probably the one that maybe.
I sent it a few hours ago today.
Okay. I don't know why. It literally is just straight up not giving me the option to make you a co-host, which is really obnoxious. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, while we wait, I can just tell you guys what the code is then. All right, so the game pin is 393-4684.
Can we see it on? Do we need to share the screen? Can we just see it on our phone if we have the code, or do we need to see?
So all the questions are going to be on the screen. They won't pop up on the phone.
Okay, I'm not seeing an email from you from a couple of hours ago. Kat, can you make her a co-host since you were the one that started this? Because it won't let me make her a co-host.
Yes.
You can make her a co-host?
I will do my best. I just made her the host.
All right.
Thank God.
Okay, here we go.
Patrick, do you want to stop the recording or do you want to?